Hey, we're live. How's it going, guys? Welcome to Full Blast. I am pretty pumped about today's video. For those of you watching this from the future, if you've been watching this Full Blast series, if you look at the dates when these videos were made, you will see that they were made during the coronavirus pandemic of 2020. And so that's why you're seeing, like, there were weeks when I would just like take a break and then have a big burst of creativity and then a lot of feelings. And like you can see the seam of like on March 11th, the content of the videos just changed and the whole vibe changed and the energy changed. And this is sort of a continuation on that. So I put that out there because I want you to know that I can see it too. Like we're all seeing the same stuff here. And I'm very, very excited about it because, you know, look, I've been making OP videos for about 2 years now, which is wild to say, just because our experience of time is so fucking weird right now. But I've been making these videos for a while. And one thing that was sort of like, it became a meme at some point was the fact that I always wore a hat. And the joke was like, he's doing the IJ hat thing. He's putting on the IJ blinders. I was like, yeah, that's true. And for a lot of, like, you know, as far as like whether I am an ENTJ or an INTJ, it really, the more that I think about it, the more that I reflect on it, the more I'm like, it entirely depends on how you define your terms. That's it. Because if you, it depends on what your system's trump card is. So very, very broadly, right? The way that I see it, the trump card in objective personality is observer versus decider, right? So the fact that I prioritize systems over people, right? Again, this is when push comes to shove, when I'm stressed, whatever. I am more viscerally comfortable, always have been, always will be, when everything is fakakta, saying, okay, are we going to try to look at the system or are we going to look at the individual people in power, you know, first? Like, again, we're going to look at both. All of these things matter. It's just what order are we doing all of these things in, right? And so in objective personality, that's the trump card. And routinely, I have always, will always, like this is really a repeating pattern in my life. For me, it all comes down to the system first. If we fix the system first, then doing all of the stuff with the people, that becomes so much easier. That's, you know, people come and go and it's whatever, but like have a good system first. So that's what makes me NITE or NINTJ in OP lane, right? But in every fucking, like in Myers-Briggs, in Socionics, in every other personality system, I am unambiguously an extrovert, right? I am ENTJ in Myers-Briggs, and I'm like dabbling in Socionics. I am whatever the ENTJ equivalent is in Socionics. I think it's LIE. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But I'm ENTJ in Socionics, right? So where does that come from? Well, certainly in Myers-Briggs, again, I don't know as much about Socionics, but I see similar trends. It's the OP version of, you know, what is your double activated savior function? And more importantly, do you have play over sleep, right? And in my case, I have both. So not only is my two savior animals, right, blast and play, are attached to TE, I also have play above sleep, right? And again, I realize that that's kind of redundant because necessarily, if I have savior play, by definition, I have play above sleep. But like that's just like the extra like it doesn't mean that I'm play first. It just means that it's clearly play over sleep and it's double activated. Like I have a fuck ton of extroverted energy in a lot of ways when I'm at my best, whatever, right? Depending on how you want to look at it. And I'm thinking back, I've been doing a lot of reflecting over the past week and a half about my time that I spent in New York. I was in New York for a decade. I really look at my time in New York as being in, like, moving to New York was like getting married right after college, and then leaving New York was like getting a divorce. And, sort of moving to New York was, I started dating somebody, like I started dating my high school sweetheart, right? And we went to college together, and then we broke up for a little bit, but then we got back together. And then at the end of college, we decided to get married. And then we lived together, and we were super happy for a couple of years. But then when I turned 25, like I started to change, want different things. And I didn't know how to communicate those things to her. And she, even if I had communicated them, there's not a lot she would have been able to do because she was living her own life and trying to be the best version of her that she could be. And it just stopped working, right? So I left New York, and now that I have this space and I'm settled in LA and I'm doing things, I can now start to like emotionally open myself up to that time in New York. I started rewatching The Sopranos, or really watching for the first time. And obviously that all takes place in like New York, New Jersey, the house that Tony Soprano lives in, the neighborhood he lives in. I went to go tutor there all the time. Like, I think he's, again, I don't know exactly. I probably should have consumed this before trying to blast it, but I know that he's in like the like alpine tenafly fancy pants part of North Jersey, right? He's in those fucking suburbs, right? So, I think about the time that I spent there. And anyway, all this stuff is coming back to me. And so I'm thinking about the last couple of years when I was really, really upset. I was depressed. I was not in a good headspace. And yet, I still believe that I got typed correctly, even though when I was typed, it was, about a certain, I was in a weird place in life. I still think they nailed me, right? As NITE, blast, play, consume, sleep, last. Cool. But I'm looking back on these old videos and I have this hat on. And I've been thinking about why I kept a hat on, why I always liked my hair short. Like what was, again, going back to my old video, I'm just going to keep referring to this a lot. If you have not watched the video about the ghost and the lie, you got to watch that video, man. Like that shit. When I first heard that concept, I fucking lost my shit. So like, but what I'm getting at is that, okay, so the lie is that I believe that I need to have short hair and or wear a hat to keep everything contained. Okay, well then what was the damage done to me? What is the trauma that I suffered that made me believe that that was necessary? What was going on there? Start doing more digging and taking time to process and watching Queer Eye and watching The Sopranos and making blaster videos and feeling, just sort of letting it all sink in, but with keeping this eye and spiritual ear towards like what needs to be healed in order for me to stop fucking wearing hats all the time. Because they're not fun. Look, I will happily wear a hat if I'm walking around outside. That is functional. It's doing a job. And like, it's a whole like look. It's like I'm outside and baseball cap and sunny out and we're doing sport ball things. But like when I'm just making videos and I'm inside, like, why am I wearing a fucking hat? Like, how is this serving me? Right? That's the question you always got to ask yourself is how is this serving me? And after a lot of reflection and just thinking and feeling, and unfortunately, and I'm so mad at the universe, by the way, right now, very mad about it, because I've started making these videos, and now that my hair has sort of grown itself out, and like, yes, I have a weird cowlick, but like, the way that my hair was cut before, it was cut with the intention of having it kept short. So once it started to grow out, like it looked kind of busted. But now that it's starting to grow past that kind of busted phase and is starting to have a little more height, a little more, like it's starting to have shape to it, I'm like, God damn it, I like this. And I'm super pissed off about it. I'm super pissed off about it. Because I had long hair forever. Now, I'm not going back to ponytail Raja. And actually, I don't think that, so when I was younger, and maybe if this happens, it'll still happen, but like, I had these like big Grecian looking curls that my hair does. Like when I put the product in it, it's just like big curly hair. And I don't think that's quite my vibe either. Like I think that the best version of myself and my hair and my energy and whatever is sort of like this silhouette. Like maybe the sides are a little more in, but I do like the length on top. It gives me that sort of lion's mane vibe kind of look, which we'll get to in a second. That's sort of the second half of this video. But I was thinking about that and I was like, motherfucker, I really do like this. And of course, none of this would have happened if I was able to get a haircut for the past 2 months. It's been 2 months since I've gotten a haircut. And now it's starting to grow out and I'm like, God damn it. I just gotta let it keep growing out, don't I? And then once the quarantine is over, right? Middle of May, end of May, beginning of June, whenever we're allowed to like start doing shit again, then I will go to a salon and I will get it like properly done with the like do the full out whatever, because I haven't gotten my haircut, so I'm banking money, so like we're good. But like spending that money on really, really getting it done right, having a consultation, having somebody help me with my energy, my look, the vibe I want to bring into the room, talking about facial hair, how that complements it, right? And it's funny, like I was in this weird bargaining stage where I was like, I think I want the short hair, but I want the facial hair to give myself this like the jawline and the masculine energy. And I think that was sort of a bargaining around this idea of, well, the thing that is fixed is that I must have short hair, right? But I knew that I wanted some sort of physical signifier of archetypal masculinity, an unambiguously male gender presentation to match my unambiguously male sensory energy that's double activated. So like I tell you what, my double activated observer is my masculine SE. Yeah, it's at the bottom of my stack, but like it's still double activated. And that just is the energy that I bring into the room, whether I want to or not. So I just need to be cognizant of that and own that energy. Okay, fine. But all of this is to say, like digging deeper, like where did this come from, this idea that I needed to have a hat on all the time? And what I started to realize is that there was so much constant sensory chaos overload that I couldn't deal with anything, right? It was just like, okay, so this is not I don't think this is a super spoiler for Ozark. You know what? I'm going to use Banshee instead, because Banshee, it's a similar idea, but Banshee came out a while ago, so it's less of a spoiler. But there is a scene in which somebody, it's going to be a spoiler for anything, the way that I just framed it. Anyway, there's a thing that happens in lots and lots of television shows where a person is put into a prison cell, and like it's a form of torture where they blast the loud music, like the death metal music at like 120 decibels or whatever is bad for you. And then they put stadium lights in and they just like overload you with sensory to the point that you can't process anything or function, right? And it's like from what I gather, like a medium, if it is not a common actual real life torture device, it is certainly prominent in lots and lots of media. So that is obviously not that extreme. I'm not that dramatic, but like over the course of years, that was the feeling I felt subjectively of like, I'm just in this hole and it's just being barraged with loud music and loud lights to all the time, right? And my only choice was to numb myself because that's the only way to keep out all of the sensory chaos that was assaulting me, right? And so the way that I did that, one of the ways that I did that in the interest of trying to bargain, trying to do whatever, was that I was like, okay, well, I can't control any of the other chaos around me, but I can control my hair. I can make sure that when I walk into the room, that I seem super put together, super clean, super polished, and none of this fucking chaos hair, because that's, in my mind, that was just adding to this world of chaos where I was trying to make the chaos go away. Like I wanted less chaos in the world, and having big hair to me felt like just more chaos that I had to fucking deal with, right? And so now that we are in this weird time of a little more calm, a little more introspection, a little bit less, if nothing else, there's less FOMO, because what the fuck are you missing out on? There's no movies to go to. There's no bars to go to. There's no hot brunch spots to go to. There are no shows to go to. There are no parties to go to. There's nothing for you to miss out on. So there's nothing to worry about. Like you can't have FOMO because you're just not doing anything, right? Like there's nothing that other people are doing socially that you aren't, right? And I started to think about that and I was like, oh, right. The more, and obviously just the general serendipity of like, I don't get to cut my hair. And so I have no choice really but to be like, all right, we're growing it out. We're just going to see how this vibes. And now I'm like, God damn it. I am liking the direction this is trending, and that is very inconvenient. Maran, right? And also, like, look, I am part Italian. My grandmother is from Sicily. I have there is a part of my heritage that is very, very Sicilian. We think that there are a lot of mob ties in my family. It's not the point. But the point is that I'm watching these guys and like the overly swagger braggadocio. And I look at this, and now that I'm a little bit more developed, a little bit older, a little bit less impressionable, I can look at that and go, okay, obviously don't be a dick, right? Don't hit your girlfriend, and don't tell the guys, there's a scene in there. It fucking blows my mind. Where the guy is like, listen, I heard that you hit my daughter, right? The two of them are dating. Guy says, I heard you hit my daughter. Don't do that again. If you wanna lay hands on her, then you better give her your last name, because then it becomes none of my business what you do with between you and your wife. But until that happens, I'm the one who's in charge of her. I'm the man in her life. You treat my baby girl right. And you're listening to this and you're like, oh my God, holy toxic masculinity, Batman, Jesus. But then when you're like, okay, hang on a second, what's going on underneath there? Let's give this guy the benefit of the doubt. What's going on? And underneath all of the toxicity that is obviously bad, like don't say that, don't do that, don't treat people this way. Underneath that really is like the feeling of not only can I protect this person, it is my responsibility to protect this person who I erroneously believe cannot defend themselves, and to like have that like powerful, masculine, shoving, right? If we want to think of it as like sword energy versus shield energy, right? Feminine energy we can think of as being like holding space, yin energy, holding up the shield, blocking the attacks, protect, right? Whereas masculine energy is more sword, hack and slash, get in there, whatever, right? So it's like, I got all this sword energy. I'm going to use it to keep the people that I love safe. When you look at that and you're like, God damn it, I can't really, like, I get it. I don't not get it. I can't pretend that I don't get it. But again, all of this is to say, now that I'm looking at that and seeing that, I'm like, you know what? I don't not have that energy. And more importantly, not only is that my energy, I want that energy. That energy is stupidly useful in lots and lots of areas of life. It becomes problematic when you don't know how to use shield energy too. If you are all in on sword energy, that's a problem. But that's not like the end all be all, right? Like sword energy in general is not bad, much in the same way that extraversion is not bad, much in the same way that being an EJ is not bad. And I think that just in general, I think that I think this is true in the personality community. Maybe it's just because there just aren't a lot of EJs in the personality community. But I do feel like there is a cultural bias towards introversion, towards NF. So like there are not that many ENTJs in the personality community. Like I'm really trying to think of like there are I would say there's a decent number of ENFJs. I think that that's fair to say. And obviously, there's I'm trying to think, God, are there not a lot of ESFJs? But I'm like the ones I'm thinking of in the personality community are ENFJs. Legit. Megan Lavoda is the one that springs to mind most readily because she is wonderful, but also very prominent in the community and deserves a shout out for being a kick-ass EJ, right? But all this is to say is that my archetype of ENTJ, let's say that is what I am. Like, there are things that I have been doing that was keeping me from leaning into that energy, that was leaning me away from that energy. And part of that for a while was that I just had other shit to work on. But like now that I'm done working on the stuff that I needed to about like embracing the masculine SE, working on my consume, working on NF sleep in general, strengthening that connection between reconciling the fact that I am a glass lizard and what does that mean and whatever. I don't need to keep rehashing that problem. Like I can move on from that problem and then clean up whatever debris happens as a result of moving on from it, right? Because there's going to be a little bit of debris. Hey, you sweep it up and then you move on and you sweep it up and you're fine, right? You're mostly clean, and as long as it doesn't fester, you're good, right? And so, but I bring up this last little bit about like hacking the looks like game. Because what really got me thinking about this, weirdly, and again, I feel like this is just like an NI thing, especially like lead feminine NI, will just find one detail and be like, that is the mantra, that is the secret of the universe today. And I'm going back to the Erwin McManus class, which as of now is like, God, probably a month old. Yeah, that tracks. And so he's an ENFJ, kicking ass. So I think he's FM, if I remember correctly.
At one point about...
Yes, so he's FM, ENFJ, blast, play, sleep, consume, last. But they put up a bunch of these guys. They put up Shan's dad. They put up Jeff Bridges. They put up Kenny Rogers. And they were talking about how they all have this like big head and this sort of swoopy lion's mane kind of hair. And I started thinking about it and I was like, okay, let's reverse engineer this. Let's make my life as frictionless as possible, right? So if that is, and again, I don't necessarily believe in the looks like game. I just don't have enough evidence either way. They have a bigger data set than I do. They are better at typing than I am. That is not my forte, never has been my forte. I'm not pretending it's my forte, right? But given the benefit of the doubt, let's say the looks like game is real, right? And there's certainly, to an extent, like there's me, Hassan Minhaj, Jeremy Johns. We suspect Keegan-Michael Key is also the MF INTJ blast, play, consume, sleep, last. And so we're all in the same realm of like dark-skinned men with facial hair who are like ridiculously good looking for no reason whatsoever, right? So I'm like, all right, I could be in worse company than these guys. Cool. That said, I think that Keegan might even be double masculine. I don't know. Again, to the extent that I even believe in that. But anyway, what I was saying is that there is certainly the perception of how somebody looks corresponding to the energy they bring in the room, right? If Tony Robbins walks in the room, he has to be having the worst fucking day of his life in order for you not to notice him, right? The man is just, he's a large man. And energetically, he just has a large energetic presence. And I have been told that I have something similar where like there have been times when I have walked into a room and just like the energy of the room shifts. In a positive way, generally speaking. Like I'm not, again, I try not to be a dick about it, but just like I naturally have I just have a lot of energy. I don't know how else to put it. But the way that I was acting, the way that I was dressing, the way that I was behaving was not only disrespecting that, it was not only not recognizing that, it was like undercutting it. But that energy was trying to come out anyway. And so it just looked fucking weird, right? So and again, there were lots of reasons for that. The patterns of behavior, the IJ blinders. I think it was really important that I call myself an introvert and recognize how introversion does play a part in my life. I think that I am solidly an ambivert, right? If you think of like the bimodal, right? Predominantly extroverted, predominantly introverted. There's a little dip in the middle. Like I think I'm somewhere in here realistically, again, because I am about my organization, settledness, system, planning, that thing before I start going outside and banging on people's heads and gathering and telling people what to do, right? I am deeply aware of like, I gotta have a fucking plan before I just start hammering on people, right? But I'm like, okay, well, what if I could hack this looks like it, right? Let's say, for sake of argument, that the energy I want to bring into the room, or a version of the energy I want to bring into the room, is this sort of like big lion's mane energy, right? All right, well, let me look at our buddy Jeff Bridges, right? So he was the one that really got me, that I was like, Jeff Bridges is an ENTJ? He's blast, play, ENTJ? Well, hang on a second. Shit. Obviously, I always liked him and whatever. And he's FM. He's got the feminine sensory. I got the masculine sensory. But like, I don't know. I kept looking at him being like, all right, well, what does that version of me look like? Right. And so all of this is to say is I'm going to keep growing out my hair. Partially because I need to force myself to let go of the pattern of behavior that no longer served me. Right. of feeling like I needed to manage my own chaos because I just couldn't deal with all the chaos in the world. Now that I am better at partitioning the outside chaos, I can be a little more chaotic myself, right? I'm not like the overall ratio of control to chaos isn't so imbalanced. So I can be like, yeah, all right, I got a little more of the hair. Okay. So that's the first part. But the second part is saying, all right, well, if these people bring this energy into the room and it's energy that I like, certainly don't dislike, want to embrace, because I'm not an Elon Musk, I'm not a Zuckerberg, I'm not a sleep consume, I am blast play. That is a good mode of mine. I like it. It gets shit done. It's very, very effective in a lot of ways. So like, what if I just worked towards owning that, right? What does that look like? What does that feel like? And who can I model myself after so that I can do that in the healthiest way possible, right? Because a lot of my growth for the past 2 years has been, let me learn from the IPs, let me learn from the EPs, let me dig into this, ISFP, ESFP mode just to strengthen my FI and to let it play at all. And now that that's kind of cooking and we're doing all right with that, now I can say, you know what? And how about this? Now that I'm like more balanced on my observers, shit, what if I did lean into the ENTJ mode? Like, what would that look like? And how about this? In the interest of personal growth, like, what is that going to reveal about my other 3 functions that are either single activated or a demon that, like, don't always get the time of day, right? What else can I learn about these other parts of my psyche by leaning into my TE even more aggressively, but doing so consciously, doing so mindfully, and doing so with the interest of service rather than, if I tell people what to do and getting the validation cookies, then I'll feel good about myself, but doing it in the interest of like, I have an abundance of love and resources and time and talent to share with others to help make the lives of others easier. Let me do that. And let me just trust that what I'm doing is helping people live their best life. And we're all doing the grow and give thing together. All right. That's all I got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I know this was like a little more out there, swooshy. But I do think that this does fold into the conversation of the savior demon conversation, into the conversation of like, how do we present ourselves in the world? What energy do we bring into the world? And how does that affect whether or not we are able to accomplish our goals? All right, that's all I got for today. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you want to visit us on Facebook, you can find us at the unofficial Objective Personality Study Group. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.